Biohazard warning. Entering contaminated zone. Transmissions jammed. Proximity coverage only. Backup activated. System rebooted.
Agents, what is going on, guys? Your boy Sly here with another Division video for you. And today we're going to start a line of videos that have to do with builds, but not entirely using the talents from gear sets. So, over the course of this week, I'm going to make a few videos that will go over some of these different builds that I have been looking into. Now, as some of you might have noticed, the full-on DPS meta is currently in a shift. There are people that hate change and cling onto whatever has worked for them in the past. While the current Striker Sentry setup has no doubt proven itself very useful for a long while, there is an urge to break off and experiment with other builds that, when used in a right way, prove to be just as effective, if not even more so. So, in this first video, I'm going to go over something that I like to call the Assault Tech. Also, Frontline Tech I thought was a good name, but my ability to think of names is straight up garbage. Either way, guys, the name doesn't really matter. What does matter is if it works, and so far from the testing I've been doing, I can see a lot of promise. Now, a quick disclaimer, this build is still a work in progress, and I am missing a third Tactician's Authority piece. The other pieces I am using are mostly 191, and my gloves are 182. Going back and trying to find the original 4 gear sets at 240 are proving quite a freaking challenge and a bitch to pull off. So that's why you'll see low DPS and low toughness scores in this video, but nonetheless, it does end up proving my point. Now, once I find the full setup, I will make another video showing off how effective it ends up being, and remember that the higher the gear score, the higher the stats can potentially be, so it will make a big difference. So the problem with the Division is that it lacks true options. Now, of course, the potential is there to be a full-on medic or tech, but if you do, you actually end up becoming a burden on your team. It takes too much sacrifice from one of the core stats to have high skill power, and if you can't take or dish out damage, then plainly put, you're of no help. So being a true support player becomes quite difficult. However, with the additions of some new gear sets, a little forward thinking, then some new options start to open up to us, and that's what I am looking forward to exploring. Builds here recently have been evolving and redefining what it really means to have a strong character in the Division. Alright guys, so let's hop into this Assault Tech build of mine. Now the main goal here is to have a character that can hang with the full DPS players while still be able to pull supporting duties. Now I have made 2 setups, one for solo engagements and another for teamwork. However, this build is built around smart cover. So for going solo, you're going to need 2 strikers, 3 Tactician's Authority, and Savage Gloves. This build leans on high critical hit chance to supplement the lack of DPS. With that said, once you find your set pieces, try to re-roll them with that in mind. When possible, try to find armor that has additional armor on it. Ideally, you'd want all of your armor pieces to have extra armor, critical hit chance increase, critical hit damage increase, SMG damage increase, or anything that has to do with your deployable skills, like smart cover damage increase, smart cover damage taken decrease, anything like that. However, critical hit chance and armor should be on the top of your list if you can't get anything else. You're going to let your skills increase your critical hit damage, so only focus on critical hit chance. But of course, if it's possible to add in damage, then by all means go for it. Next, we need to find a weapon that syncs well with what you have, and of course that goes to the SMG. Finding the best weapon is a task that is never quite complete, and I think we can all agree on that. But finding an SMG that you like with 24 to 25.5% critical hit chance is what you're going to be shooting for. Remember, 25.5% is the highest you can actually get on an SMG. Next, let's look at talents. Now, I know it's hard to get what you want when you're trying to find a weapon, but try to find what works best with a critical hit build and a skill build. Fierce is a must-have. It increases your critical hit chance permanently, and since you're going to be using smart cover a lot, something like Adept, which increases critical hit chance after using a skill, or even Cool-Headed, skill cooldown after headshotting an enemy, would also be a great choice. So choose something along those lines if you can. However, you can never go wrong with a Fierce, Brutal, Deadly SMG. Now, as for mods, this is of course player's choice because the handling of a weapon is a personal opinion. But any extra mods that can increase your critical hit chance is very, very welcomed. However, I never changed my rate of fire and magazine size increase mod. Shooting faster just seems to work better for me. However, I have seen people who use magazines that only have critical hit chance as well as critical hit damage, and they absolutely swear by it. Next, let's take a look at our character talent, something a lot of people forget to change, but they do end up helping. This won't change a lot from the solo build to the team build, but you're going to end up equipping Adrenaline. Use a medkit while not at full health to receive an overheal. Then we have my favorite medical talent, which is Critical Save. Use a medkit while at low health to increase damage resistance by 40% for 10 seconds. This is great for shotgunners who run up on you. Then our final two, Tech Support. Kill a hostile to extend any active skill by 10% in duration, and then finally, One is None. Why? Because it's awesome, and any extra bullets it gives back to you goes right back to the chamber, and that increases your DPS, even though it doesn't show you, but as we all know, the DPS system in the Division is very flawed. Next, let's move on to skills. This is something that I couldn't say one is better than the next. Of course, one skill is going to be locked by using Smart Cover, but with a tech build, having a high damage sticky bomb is pretty effective. However, is it more effective than using a pulse, which ups your critical hit chance and damage by quite a bit for everyone? I don't know. Either one works pretty well, but let's go ahead and take a look at my team build. Now, I might seem to make a big deal about the team build, but it's really not that big of a change. It's the same concept as the solo build. High critical hit chance, smart cover everywhere, but this time we're going to go 3 strikers and 3 tacticians and move a little more to the back of the line. Now, if you can't seem to find the right gear to have your skill power make a noticeable difference when you're using smart cover, then move to 2 strikers and 4 tacticians. That is also not a bad option. So the only thing you're doing is replacing your Savage Gloves for a little harder hitting critical hits, but not as often. Once again, this is still a smart cover build, and once you have everything worked out, you should be getting smart cover back before it runs out. Smart cover won't be capped out unless you run over like 50,000 skill power. It has a cap of 50% damage increase, which isn't that hard to get, but the damage resistance can be up to 75%. This is an insane amount of damage mitigation, and if you add this to the already insane amount of armor and damage mitigation the Division lets you have as a character, you can get this build to make your team seemingly invincible, guys. Alright agents, so just as a proof of concept, I modded everything here to have the most critical hit percentages that I could get. Gloves and all my armor pieces as I could, even some of the armor mods. Now my weapon is an AUG with Fierce on it. As you can see here, I hit a lot of orange numbers which are criticals. I actually hit more crits than I do normal shots. But now look what happens when I go into smart cover. It's upped by over a third, a little over 63,000 damage. 63,000 damage for having this low of DPS and this crappy of low end gear is pretty damn good, guys. If you farmed for the best pieces, rolled to try and get high stats, not to mention if you got some pieces at 240, that would drastically jump up all of these areas considering everything here is 191. There's a lot of potential here, guys, and I'm going to keep working at this. It's just a matter of getting my strikers and my tacticians gear back at the 240 level, which I said is proving to be quite a bitch. But that's it, guys. If any of you out there run something similar to this, let me know if you like it and how it compares to a full-on DPS build, or if you've even tried the two. I plan on having another theory build video here in a few days, so look forward to that. But that's it, agents. Thanks again for watching, and if you want to stay up to date on everything, The Division, Destiny, and new uploads from Sly Nation, Twitter is the best place to do so, guys. Follow @SlyNation and stay up to speed on everything gaming. Thanks again, y'all, and until next time, this is your boy Sly. Done, gone, out.
Ammo inbound. Zone B secure.